let's spend a Saturday together in Paris. I am going out today to buy, because I have to go shopping for a few gifts for my family members. I'm going to Brazil in about 3 weeks in August. And I haven't been back since I left, which was 13 years ago, when I was 15 years old. So I thought I would also bring a bit of this topic about being an expat and being away from the place you call home, the place you grew up for such a long time, and also not going back to this home country for so long. Anyway, just sharing some thoughts, some feelings on it while I finish getting ready. So for the backstory, I was born and raised in Rio in Brazil, and my parents are not from there. My mom is originally from Taiwan. Her whole family is Taiwanese, but they moved to Brazil when she was 3 years old. So basically she grew up in Rio, in Brazil, and she considers herself Brazilian. My father was originally French. He was born in the south of France, but he moved at a very young age to Israel, where he did his Navy school. So anyways, from the age of 15 until early adulthood, he lived in Israel. So he considered Israel actually much more of a home for him than France. And he moved to Brazil in his 30s, and he met my mom there, and that's where they stayed, had my sister and I, and I was born there, and I grew up in Brazil, in Rio, until I was 15 years old. So technically, let's say my background, my ethnic background, is half Taiwanese, half French. But because I was born and raised in Brazil, obviously I considered myself Brazilian. So anyway, growing up, I would always say I'm French Brazilian. I never really even considered my Taiwanese side to be a huge influence in who I am. So obviously I still have the Taiwanese side in me, because my mom is obviously Taiwanese and her whole family is Taiwanese, so they have still their cultural aspects with them. But because she was raised in Brazil, the Brazilian side was always much more prominent than the Taiwanese side. So anyway, in Rio, I also went to a French school. I went to Lycée Molière. I was there since I was in kindergarten, so I guess 3 years old-ish. And then I left when I was 15, so my entire childhood and teenage years, so that very early, important, significant development years were all spent in the French school in Rio. So that's why also I always considered myself French Brazilian, because I still grew up with French people around me, with the French culture around me, since my whole education was French. I mean bilingual, because we also had Portuguese in school, but my upbringing, my education was all French, and then my cultural side was all Brazilian, because I grew up there, obviously. Anyway, I think that in itself is already a very complicated, very complex topic, because growing up with so many different cultures around you and inside of you kind of already shapes you differently if you compare to someone who grew up in one culture, with their parents being from the same country, growing up in the same city, same, you know, upbringing and everything. I think it's very different. But anyway, I left Brazil when I was 15 with my parents. We moved to the Bahamas, and I finished the last 2 years of my high school in international school. So I switched from French and Portuguese to English, purely English. So that was very interesting. And since then, since I left, I tried going back a couple of times for vacation, but for some reason it never ended up working out. So since I left 13 years ago, I actually never went back home. And before moving to Europe, because now I live in Paris and my mom now lives in Lisbon, before having this move to Europe, and especially Lisbon, I had been completely out of touch with my Brazilian culture, completely out of touch with my roots, because I ended up living in North America for such a long time, and I was consuming North American everything. So even when social media started, I was already in English-speaking countries, so all of my cultural references became, let's say, American or North American references. Everything that I consumed was North American. So I kind of ended up being very disconnected from where I come from. And I didn't even realize how much of an impact that made on me until my parents moved to Lisbon, and I went to visit, and Lisbon has such an important Brazilian presence. You know, I could find Brazilian food. It's very common to find Brazilian food in supermarkets, in restaurants, even the culture, the music is everywhere. So I remember when I went there and I had a salgadinho, like I had a little pastry that's very typical from Brazil. When I had that after years, I literally almost cried. I was tearing up because it was such a reconnection with myself, with this part of me that I had neglected for so long, that it really marked me. So having my mom in Lisbon now is really nice because I get to go back very often and be closer to my roots. But still, so now I'm going back to Brazil after 13 years. Hopefully nothing's gonna happen and I'll be able to travel. And I don't know, I just can't even imagine what I'm gonna feel. I can't even imagine all my emotions, if I'm gonna be super happy, if I'm gonna be, I don't know, like completely out of place, because I know a lot of things changed and I probably won't recognize a lot of things. So I'm very, very curious to understand how that reconnection is gonna be. I think I'm gonna cry. I think I'm gonna get emotional. But yeah, I'm very curious to find out. So because I still have family there, my cousins, my uncles, aunts, I still have quite a bit of family from my mother's side in Brazil. So today I'm gonna go buy a few things for them, because some of my cousins and uncles and aunts from the same family, they all have their birthdays now, like between June, July, July, August. Anyway, they all have their birthdays very close together. So I'm gonna go buy little birthday gifts for them, and yeah, and then we're gonna spend a bit of time outside, because today the weather shockingly is not so bad for Paris. I feel like this is a repeating topic every time I talk about Paris, but the weather has been so bad. So I'm gonna take advantage that at least it's not raining today, and I see there's a bit of sun, a bit of blue sky. So I'm gonna go out, go for a walk, have some food, and also see what's going on around, because I live in the center where all the Olympic activities are gonna take place. So we're gonna pass by the Eiffel Tower. I'm sure everything is still closed off, but I also haven't been there in a couple of weeks, so I'm sure a lot of things might have changed. So I'm curious to see what's happening on this as well. and I'll show you in case anybody's interested. I did another video on a few weeks ago, a Saturday, that we had good weather, so I went out for a walk, and I was also able to see parts of Paris that were completely different because of the Olympics. So yeah, I'm gonna finish getting ready and we're gonna go out. All black outfit because that is the mood today. Just came back from shopping. I got a few things from Sephora for my cousins and for myself. This mascara is literally the only mascara that I've been wearing for the past years because I just love this brush. I'll do like a blogger. I find this the best brush for the lashes because it doesn't cake on too much and I feel like it separates them. But I also bought this because I haven't used one of these in years and I feel like sometimes I just want my lashes to be a bit more curled, so hopefully these ones from Sephora will do the job. I think it should be fine. Normal. And then for my cousins, I got 2 different shades of the Rare Beauty like highlighter powder blush, and they can choose which shade each prefers. And then also these Lanolips glosses. I have this one and I really love it. It's a really pretty color and it does hydrate your lips. So I got 2 different shades so they can also choose what they want. That is it. And for my aunt, I got her something from L'Occitane. It's a little kit of hand moisturizer. Didn't really know what to get her because also I'm not gonna have that much space in my suitcase to bring a lot of things. So it's just a little souvenir from France. I know there is L'Occitane Brazil, like the Brazilian manufacturer with Brazilian like local products, but I do think L'Occitane in Brazil is quite expensive because obviously it's imported and also it's a foreign brand. But anyway, this is what I got today, and now I'm at home. I'm just gonna chill for a little bit and figure out if I want to do something else for the rest of the day. It's still early, but I don't know if I feel like going out again. I do want to buy some books. I've been buying books on Amazon at full price, and I end up reselling them on Vinted for less than half the price, so I'm actually losing a lot of money buying books. But I like reading in English, and I don't go often to French bookstores. But I know the majority, if I go to like a Fnac, the majority of the books are going to be in French, the same price as if I would buy it on Amazon. But we'll see what I feel like doing later. I decided to go out and decided to go to a bookstore that sells used books. It's called Gilbert Jeune or Gilbert Joseph. It's in the 6th. So I'm gonna go take the subway and go there. I'm gonna enjoy this weather while I can. That's why I decided to get out of the house again. If not, I would spend another day at home, and I'm a bit sick of it. So let's go see if they have any interesting used books in English that are hopefully cheaper than buying new ones. I'm currently rushing home because I'm very scared. It's gonna start raining. It's very dark. So here is Invalides. This is what it's looking like, and right across from it, everything looks like it's almost done. It's actually quite insane that everything is open air. And I think there was some sort of event going because there are a lot of uniformed men that look like old school uniforms. I surely hope that the weather is going to be better in August because, wow, if it rains. I literally came back at the right time because as I walked into my building, it's starting to rain. So I'm very glad. I ended up going to the bookstore. I went to Gilbert Joseph or Gilbert Jeune. I can't remember which one, but it's a massive bookstore. It's my first time there. It has like 5 or 6 floors. It's huge. I don't know why it took me so long to get there. I have all the newer books, as the word totally escapes my mind, but not new. They have a reseller. How do you call it? I'm having a total brain fog. Used books, Jesus. They have all the newer books even as used books. So I was able to find a few that I wanted to read, and they were much cheaper than the original ones. And I actually ended up walking back, which took me a good 40 to 50 minutes. So that was a good exercise, a good walk home. So I'm happy with how my afternoon turned out. So I just got home, I made myself a smoothie, couldn't be bothered to put it in a cuter cup. Like, this is perfect. Delicious. So I got this book. I had seen it a few times in bookstores where I bought my other books, but I never bought it. So now I got it for €8. Usually would be like 11 or 12. Then I also got this one. I had never seen it before, but I think it's the style of book that I like. Probably some sort of mystery, thriller, something like that I very much enjoy. And it was €7. Still quite expensive for used books, but still cheaper than the original one, so it's okay. And then I saw this one. Also, I had never seen it before, but I think it's also something like it's a psychological suspense, and I really like these books. They really keep me wanting to read more. So I got it for €6. And then I stumbled across this one. First of all, The Devil Wears Prada, I think, is one of my favorite movies of all time. I never read the book. I even forgot that it was a book. So anyway, I feel like I don't need to read the first book to read the second one, and I didn't even know there was a second one. It's called Revenge Wears Prada. Obviously, the first thing that caught my eye was the shoe from Devil Wears Prada. And also because the news just came out that they're gonna film the sequel of the first one. So I thought, you know what? I might as well read it. But I'm not gonna read the first one because I feel like I've seen the movie 1,000 times. So maybe I know the story in general. But yeah, I found this very interesting. So I said, why not? And it was only €4.60. So I said, you know what, let me just buy it. I'm very curious to how this is gonna turn out. And I also ended up buying a little agenda because it was super cheap, like €3 or €4. And sometimes I do miss having a paper agenda so I can write down my things. So yeah, that concludes my day out in Paris. I'm very glad with how the day turned out. I was expecting to spend another day at home doing nothing, but I'm happy I ended up doing something. So now I'm just gonna finish my smoothie. Probably gonna start one of these books and just chill at home for the rest of the evening. thank you if you stayed until this part of the video. This is just something that I enjoy doing on my free time because I'm alone and it keeps me entertained. And yeah, thank you for listening. And also, if you have, first of all, any recommendations of what to do in Rio for a not so new tourist, but kind of a tourist still, let me know. And also your thoughts on being an expat, etc. I mean, this is a topic that's very close to my heart, obviously, because I've been living it. I've been one for the past 13 years, almost half of my life. So it's something that I'm deeply ingrained with. And yeah, it's something that I also enjoy talking about, but I don't also get a lot of opportunities to talk about because day to day I meet a lot of expats, but I feel like we just live life and don't even sometimes stop to think about what the life is being away from home. Anyway, these were just my thoughts of the day and my day in Paris. Have a great rest of the weekend and see you next time.